Welcome to WLCN's Viewpoint, the program about personalities, politics, and perspectives.
We've got all three in one.
We do, and that's always nice. I know we usually start with kudos. I would really like to start with an explanation. I've had several people say that they heard that I said, you know, Uncle Bill instead of Bill or Bill Gossett, and how was he related? Was that my mother's brother? And I said, well, no, he's actually not related at all. When we moved to town, we had no relatives, and so we adopted Bill Gossett, and I've called him Uncle Bill for years. The first job I ever had at 15, I worked at Gossett's Cleaners, and so only in spirit is he my uncle, and I'm very proud to say that, and he will be back next week for those of you, and I will be bowing out after my little 4-week stint.
your short career. Somebody is calling us. Oh, let's hear them. You can too, Sally.
Okay.
Okay. It's not you take one and I take one. It's high tech. Okay. Hi.
Yes, this is Denver Snow.
Hi, Uncle Bill.
Reporter, Denver Snow. Down here, the signal's coming in strong. We have a conclave. Matter of fact, the station management, with infinite wisdom, decided to draw together all the roving reporters around the country. We're down here with Mayhem and Loose Nut, and Artie Skirblehorn has come in. We even have Fred Nittany came in from Starved Rock, and we're down here to discuss how we can improve Viewpoint. Put a little life in that doggone program.
Hey, I'm glad you're working on that, man. I'm all for it. Good luck.
Do you have the best county clerk in 102 counties as your guest this morning?
Yes.
Good morning, Bill.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. It's nice to talk with everybody this morning.
You too.
I'd like for you to know that the caucus of the roving reporters made a decision, Mrs. Bowns. They've decided not to ask you to take the old guy's place in deference to his age and the fact that he needs the money.
Well, like I said, I'm not going to give up my day job.
Well, I have to make an inquiry as to how your mother is feeling this morning.
Well, I tell you what, Bill, I feel like I've been run over. For obvious reasons.
Well, I just want you to know that station is coming in real strong down here in Arizona. And you girls keep up the good work and kind of keep that seat for the old guy, will you?
You betcha.
Will do. You have a safe trip home.
Yeah, be safe.
All right. You
Enjoy.
got a great guest this morning. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye
Bill.
now. Where in the world he comes up with these names boggles my mind. I mean, who would ever name a kid Loose Nut? Or Mayhem? It's like in Texas, there were some really rich people. And they had 2 daughters. Their last name was Hogg. It was quite a dynasty. And the daughters were named Ima and Yura.
Okay.
Now, that's a warped sense of humor.
Yeah.
So you should be glad your name is Since.
Look at
Darn
Sitz's
right.
face.
Yeah, because you've heard that a lot.
Common name. Well, let's just clarify that I did give you a decent Christian name. It's just that nobody
knows it.
Nobody knows it. None of my kids like the names I picked.
Sally, I think you know it, and we've worked together for years.
Yes, absolutely we have.
So,
Okay, so Cynthia, Lynn, and I are going to be talking with the famous lustrous Sally. Sally Litterly is busy now as the county clerk, getting ready for an election that will be the 20th of March. And I'd like to start today, if you would, by addressing the age-old question of what's best, an open primary or a closed primary. I've lived in states where we've had both. I lived in a closed primary state and or in an open primary state, and this, of course, is a closed primary state. And the fact that it is closed makes some people very angry. I can think back to one couple a number of years ago that came to vote every time they opened the polls, and every time they opened the polls, they mounted the same soapbox, and that was, I want a ballot. And so then you ask, do you want a Republican or a Democrat ballot? No, they didn't. They wanted both. Well, then you'd explain that, I'm so sorry, this is a closed primary. And they knew that because it had been explained to them about 800 times. But they wanted to make a statement, which was certainly their right. And some think it shouldn't be a closed primary. But that doesn't matter. It still is. So let's talk about the difference for just a minute, Sally, if you would, please, and thank you.
Sure. Well, you pretty much explained somewhat of the differences between open and closed primaries. An open primary would be, as you had discussed in Wisconsin and Minnesota, you can go in and vote for either party. They're all on your ballot.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty with that for an election official is that you might have a 3-page ballot when it comes to some primaries. As we're
sure.
used to both sides, it might be 2 ballots with both sides because you have to fit all the names on there. I guess it leaves a bit of confusion for the voter as well as they're turning through their ballot and trying to decipher who is it that they want to vote for. Open primaries can, it would be a personal opinion, and actually I'd be interested in Cincy's opinion about that opinion, because it's something that really, that Judy and I have discussed before, but I'd like to know what other people that aren't involved in the election process feel, because as Judy had said, we meet a lot of animosity when we ask a voter, what kind of ballot would you like? And they want one with everything on it.
I've got several friends that will not vote in a primary because they do not want to declare a party.
And most of the time, they don't want to declare a party because they're concerned about partisan politics
Absolutely.
at their job in Springfield. Am I right?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that. Well, it's kind of like putting signs in your yard.
Right.
Oh, I never do that because then they'll know where I stand as far as politics go. You know, they always vote in general elections. There's no question there, but never in a primary.
But they miss out on something because many times the primary is the election.
Sure, absolutely. The differences between that open and closed primary, like we had begun our discussion, in that closed primary, you only can vote for your party. And what this is a partisan election. It's about parties. So if you don't choose to pick the individual that you'd like to nominate from your party, then you shouldn't come out and vote in this election because you have a choice. However, in this election, we have another way that we can vote. We have 3 kinds of ballots. We have a Democratic ballot, a Republican ballot, and a nonpartisan ballot. And so that's something actually that I think that we should discuss a little bit in length, and that is if a voter only wants to vote on the nonpartisan issue, and this time on our ballot, we have the electrical aggregation on our ballot. And I think you had someone come in and talk about electrical aggregation, or?
We will have.
Okay, I'm not going to go
March.
into it in any depth because I'm still not familiar with exactly what electrical aggregation is, except for the fact that it allows a municipality to make those decisions in an agreement form as to negotiating a price for your electricity.
Right.
So on our ballot, not all of us in Logan County will have the electrical aggregation, and that's what I think makes it a bit difficult to understand. On all of our ballots, Democrat and Republican ballots, if your municipality, or if you're in the county and not in a municipality, voted to put the electrical aggregation on your ballot, you will see that issue on your ballot. If your municipality did not vote to put that issue on your ballot, you won't see that aggregation question on your ballot. We have the village of Elkhart did not vote to put that on their ballot. The village of Latham did not vote to put it on their ballot. And I believe the village of Emden, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. One's Orville 1, one's Orville 2, and I can't remember which one did. Well, it might say on there.
Village of Emden is on
Okay,
the
so it's
nonpartisan.
Hartsburg then. So it's Hartsburg. Hartsburg did not vote to put it on there. So some people, when they go in to get their ballot, it's not going to be the same because they don't have that electrical aggregation on there. So if you don't see it on your ballot, if you're in those areas, it's because your village or your entity of which you live did not decide to put it on the ballot. Why they didn't, I'm not sure why, because I wasn't sitting in their discussion in their meetings. I just know that they had to file in January in our office in order to have that on the ballot, and it did not do so. So, but everyone in the county districts, that'll all be on their ballot. So you have a nonpartisan ballot that if you just wanted to walk in the door and you only wanted to vote nonpartisan, that means you don't want to vote for any presidential issues for either party, you can ask for a nonpartisan ballot. On that nonpartisan ballot, the only thing, as you can see since in the samples that I gave you, the only thing there is to vote for is electrical aggregation. But that is only for those areas that voted to put that on the ballot.
Now, what happened to the green people and their ballot?
Yeah, that's a good question. They didn't get enough votes in that last election in order to be an established party. So then they weren't able to file with the State Board of Elections.
Is that right?
Interesting.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the green people, and you never brought them up.
Yep, so we only have
That's
two
the reason.
established parties in this one.
I'll be darned. Are there any other questions on the ballot for any of the townships?
Yes, there is one question, and that would be Clinton Community District 15, and we have a little bit of us all the way over on the southeast side of the county that could be eligible to vote for that issue. It's a bond issue if they live in the Clinton School District.
Okay. I didn't realize we had people in Logan County that went to the Clinton School District.
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of overlapping districts. When we do tax extension, you'd be surprised how many districts we overlap with.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. You know, one other thing I wanted to mention that people will see on their ballot, at least for a little bit of confusion, on the Republican ballot, you'll see several individuals to vote for president. You'll also see Rick Perry's name on the ballot. Now, as you know, Rick Perry got out of the race nationally, what, a month ago or so?
Yeah, it's not been that long.
Yeah, but in doing so, he did not file a withdrawal, or perhaps it may have been too late for him to file that withdrawal with the State Board of Elections. Therefore, his name is on the ballot, and it stays on the ballot. So I think people need to be aware that if they filled in that oval, that's not really going to help anything because he has no delegates either. I mean, they could vote for him, but there's no delegates for Perry.
Well, so there's nobody to go to the convention for him anyway, even if he pretend he won Logan County.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to understand. We as election authorities all over Illinois were all wondering, why can't we take him off? Well, he was certified. So once you're certified by the state to be placed on the ballot, you can't take them off until they give us the go-ahead to go out, take them off.
Well, that makes sense, though.
So it's not like you could go through all the ballots and just cross his name out so people don't look and say, I think I want Rick Perry.
Right.
Who is, again, no longer running.
Yeah, so that's one thing Republicans, when they go in to cast their ballot, that they'll find interesting that individual's name is on the ballot, and they need to be aware of that when they go to cast their ballot by filling in the oval. No check marks, no X's. Right, Judy? Fill in the oval when they cast their ballot.
I think I stepped on you a minute ago, did I?
No, if you did, I derailed at this point.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about candidates and their delegates. Really, voting for the candidate isn't as important as picking their delegates. You can't vote for John Henry and pick Larry Smith's delegates.
Well,
we were talking about that last night because as I looked through the list of delegates, and typically people vote because I recognize that name, and you say, oh, okay, this is who I want for president, John Smith, but as I look at the delegates, gee, I really want to vote for, I know him, so I'm going to vote for him, but he's not a delegate how does that work?
Well, in our state, our state has to take the delegates with them that won and give those votes. But in some states, which I understood last night in discussion, that there's 30 states that can change their delegates when they get to the convention. So it's up to state rules, and of which those state rules are, I'm not quite certain because I'm not well versed in state party rules. But that's my understanding. So yeah, you're right. You look confused. I'm confused as well.
Oh,
so
good.
if since one is a delegate, I could go, even though I lost.
What do you mean? You? Who are you though?
I'm just a person who was running and didn't get elected.
No, you can't go if you don't get elected.
Well, then I think I didn't understand how that works.
They would cast a ballot for. She would cast a ballot for her person that she got elected for.
Right.
You would cast a ballot for the person that you got elected for.
And how beholden are they to that person?
That's a good question. And like I said, it depends on your state and their rules and how you can change. It's kind of like that caucus idea, I guess. You know, like when you see in Iowa and how you're all gathered in that area, and then like you change your mind, I'm going to go with this group over here now, and you walk over there and you're with that group. So I would assume some states can change who they support as a delegate in their nominating convention, and some states can't. I don't know what all the different states' rules are. Therefore,
But
that would
our state, you do know.
I understand that we don't change our delegates.
Now, I'd understood at one time, evidently erroneously, that they were duty-bound to vote for the candidate with whom they ran the first go-round. And after that, it was Katie bar the door.
And that may be exactly it, Judy. I'm not sure, and I should be understand that in greater depth, but I think is indeed true.
But we people, at any rate, should be aware that if you want to vote for John Smith, pick his delegates.
Absolutely. And, you know, interesting when you look at the ballots, and I'm not sure of why this is either, but look at the Republican ballot and compare that to the Democrat ballot. We have, on the Republican ballot, we have many delegates and alternate delegates. On the Democratic ballot, you only have delegates. And those delegates, well, of course, there's only one person running for president on the Democratic ballot, but they don't have any alternate delegates. Again, that's some type of partisan party rule, national convention rule for their party. And I'm not quite sure why that is either. We need some political scholar to, not political scholar, but...
The number of delegates, though, would reverse as far as Republican and Democrat if the Republicans had just one candidate, right?
Except for we'd still have alternate delegates.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not quite sure why the Democratic Party doesn't have alternate delegates.
Yeah, if you look at the Democratic, it says vote for not more than 5, and there are 5 listed. It's kind of a segue into, okay, if I have 5 people listed and it says vote for 5. What if I decide I'm only going to vote for 2?
That's a good question. The other ones get undervotes, meaning they didn't get voted for. They could still get elected because of the fact that someone else voted for them. But you chose not to. That doesn't invalidate your vote at all. That just gives you that individual that you voted for 2 more votes from since, and that's it.
Okay, because I look at this, it's obvious that all 5 of these people are going to get in because you vote for 5.
Right. And in that case, if there were 6 people on the ballot, the other thing that could do is if an individual went in to cast their ballot and they accidentally filled in 6 of those, and it's a vote for 5, that office would be an overvote, and therefore none of those people would get a vote. But it doesn't invalidate the whole ballot, only that office.
Now, we've covered all of the questions that would be on the ballot. There are very few this time.
Yes.
1.
Right.
Okay, let's kind of move into maybe we'll take a break and then go into the dates
Sure.
and places of
Okay.
voting, okay? Thank you, Jim.